So please welcome back to the show, Paula Kidd Casey. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Ashley. This is one of my favorite things to do is to be on your show and speak with you because I just love you. We found each other about 4 years ago and clicked, and you've been doing wonderfully, and your message is wonderful, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Oh, just being here with you makes me reflect on 4 years of really 4 years of me having this podcast, but you at the beginning of it and kind of I don't know, I felt like a true friend, like you were authentic, you were real with me. I felt like you were my guide. And we just kind of connected.
Yes.
And then I look back now and I'm thinking of you and preparing for today and looking at the journey. And it's like back in 2020. So here we are 4 years now after this COVID thing, and when that's when I started my podcast. And look at where we are now and like look at the guests that I've had on and you start connecting with them and you're like taking classes from some of them and or in their groups. But it's like so fascinating to think in that little of time what has happened in this world.
And I
But
love to think that I was hopefully there at the beginning because I remember you reached out to me and I was thrilled that you asked me to be on. But here's the weird thing, I didn't realize this when I was getting dressed. So this is from Tibet, and they are rubies, and they are unfinished rubies, whatever they call them. And I had them the first time I was on your show.
you did?
And I had
Oh,
no
how
idea.
funny.
I was doing I was doing another video, and I thought, oh, that kind of looks good together. And they went, oh my God, these are Ashley's rubies.
Huh. Oh, how
Well,
funny.
I love synchronicity and how everything comes around. And we were talking about how we have no idea whose lives we change, right? It's a ripple in the pond. And how you connect with one person. You had Carrie Kay on your show, who's from South Africa, who I just love, and she's
Yeah.
batshit crazy. And I
Right.
just so identify with her. I would have never thought she'd be on your show. And I love that how everything just weaves together, right? I mean,
Right.
there's a perfect timing for everything. And it was perfectly timed that we get back together and
It
share what
was.
we've been doing.
It was. So give me a recap of Paula's life. So then you stopped the podcast. So you've been creating a class and what else has been going
Well,
on?
I've got my book, and I'm in the middle of writing another book called The Currency of the Universe, which of course we know is frequency and vibration that's available to everyone.
Right.
There's an abundance for everyone when you understand exactly how the universe works.
Right.
And the quotation marks, have been keeping that information from us. And if we can get that out to everyone, it's available to all. So I'm in the middle of writing that book, and I just got a new um, program that I'm doing. It's called the Fast Path to Your Ideal Career. My passion is to work with women in the second chapter of their lives to really discover and then create their ideal career future based on their purpose and passion before they run out of time. I know when I reached 50, which was quite a long time ago, I went,
No.
oh my gosh, well, I'm 71 now. I went, oh my gosh, how it's all gone by so fast. And we are supposed to know when we're in our 20s what we want to do with the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We get the degrees and we get the initials after our names and we think we're set for life. And literally, you hit a wall in your 50s and you go, is this what I want to do the rest of my life? Can I change? Can I transition into something else? And it's hard. And the
Mm-hmm.
more successful you are in one career, the more you think you cannot transition
Right.
into the new career. And my passion is to work with those professional women saying, oh, there's so much more on the other side of that rainbow. There's so much more when you take the chance and leave. And that's what my FAST path, and FAST is an acronym for freedom, abundance, satisfaction, and time. And that's really what we all want. And it made a good acronym. and so
Cute.
that's what I've been doing.
Oh, I love it. Because right now my oldest daughter is getting ready to go to college. So when you say that,
I saw that in her prom pictures. I saw
oh,
that. Oh my
yes.
God, gorgeous.
But when you say like when you think of life and when I was so I'm 55 at 50 I guess I was 51 when I started this podcast, started
See,
a
you turn
new,
50 and all of a sudden
yeah, but I think
all
there's
hell breaks
something,
loose.
but there's some kind of a, I don't know if it's a Saturn return, but there's something when you turn 50 that there's a shift in your vibration. I
Hmm.
think there's something when you're 29, or there's some in the astrology. Do you know that?
No, no.
Okay, well, there's something that goes on when you're like in right around 50. But when I think of Paige and we have these conversations about picking a major, and I told her like I changed it so many times and had some millions of avenues that I was thinking that were my path. But when you have that, when you get to especially you being a lawyer and having all that that schooling, and
Right.
then to go get to 50 and go, oh my gosh, to even have that risk taker mindset to like
Yes.
take the Y in the road and turn the other way is like amazing but to realize now at this age, 71, that there's so much life left and there's so much magic to be uncovered.
Oh, and magic is such the right word. And we don't know it's there till we decide to, take a chance. And, there's that old saying, leap and your wings will grow.
Right.
What the hell happens if they don't grow?
Right.
But you just have to, there's just this faith. And so I was 50 and I started thinking, is this really what I want to do? But I had my own law practice and I was very successful and I had kids in college and private schools and daughters getting married. And I mean, the more money you make, the more money you spend, the more
Right.
responsibilities you have. And there was just no way. I mean, we're so myopic, we
Right.
talked about this before, but our reticular activating system only shows us what's in front of us. And I said, oh, well, it's just a pipe dream. There's nothing I can really do about it. So that would have probably been in 2003. And so that still small voice that's always talking to you, well, it turned into like this screaming shrill
Oh, funny.
by the time like '05 or '06. And I literally started having panic attacks. I thought they were heart attacks. I literally thought I was dying at one point in time. And my husband was watching a football game in the other room and I said, honey, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he yells back, can you wait until halftime?
Oh, funny.
And I said,
Yeah.
no. But it wasn't a heart attack, it was panic attacks, which was impossible for me to think about because I'm a control freak. I'm in charge of my emotions. I'm in charge of everything. It could have happened. But it ended up being my heart was attacking me. It was saying, this is not what you were meant to do. This is not why you were put here. You've done a good job, right? You did what you had in front of you, but open your eyes and see that there's more. And it took me from 2005 to probably 2011 when I found Mike Dooley. Do you know who Mike Dooley is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever interviewed him?
No, but I would love to.
Okay, well,
He's
I've got his personal phone number, so when we get
okay, good.
done, I'll give it to you. Oh, he's so wonderful. But I
Yes.
found him a very, very kind, sweet message. He writes notes from the universe. And I flew to Orlando and became a certified trainer. It was in his first class, and I was the very first trainer that ever got trained and loved it. And I ended up being on stage with him for about a year, being one of his keynote speakers, and loved it. And I knew I had found, because if anybody would have said to me, what is the law of attraction, right? Or what are the natural laws of the universe? I would have no idea what they're talking about.
Oh,
But I found it. It took me a long time to find it. And that's when this whole thing took off. So do you remember hearing about the law of attraction? Like in the 2000, when The Secret came out, 2006, somewhere around
yeah. Well,
there?
so for me, my journey started with Abraham Hicks
Oh,
back in
that's
like
right.
when I was in my early 20s. So in
Wow.
2006, when The Secret came out, I was like, oh, finally a book that I've been, like it all came together. And that was when Paige was born in 2006. So
Oh,
I
what a
would,
good energy.
yeah. So I had gone down Abraham Hicks, rabbit hole and
Right.
really studied all that stuff. And then, Wayne Dyer, I would do Mike Dooley. And I remember those like, um, those moments, especially like having that before I had my kids, especially, and now seeing why, like, you look at the higher
Oh,
perspective of life and
uh-huh.
go, oh, that's why I waited till I was 37 to have Paige, because I needed to get all that stuff in my programmed in my brain so I could have these babies and raise them with that. So yeah, and then the Secret, and then Mike Dooley was on The Secret.
Yes. Yes. And then he wrote Infinite Possibilities, and he's written some other things. So you do know that Abraham Hicks was supposed to be kind of the star of The Secret.
Right, right,
And then they took her out because she used the word vibration too much.
right. Isn't
Now,
that
how
funny?
crazy is that? Let's
Right,
give them just enough of the law of attraction, but not really, really how it works,
right,
right?
right.
So when I found out, I thought that was amazing. And another thing is, this really all kind of started. Well, it didn't all start. It started. The universe was formed, but Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that?
Yes,
Yeah.
many times.
So
Yes.
if you get his original transcript, and I'm a Bob Proctor consultant, and Bob was a huge disciple, right, of Napoleon Hill. But
Right.
if you get the original transcript, he talks about vibration.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, and they take that out of his Think and Grow Rich. Now, once again, it's the foundation of everything we need to know.
Right.
Like, because they didn't think mainstream media would mainstream people would understand. And so when you look at all that, it's been around forever. It's
Mm-hmm.
just hasn't become mainstream. Do you think it's mainstream now?
Well, it's more talked about. Like I can look back at even 2 years ago, if I think of podcast guests, it's been so that we talked about it, of course, but I think now people are understanding. Like I just went to a Joe Dispenza event.
I love
Eh,
Joe. Oh, you
yes.
did the
Uh-huh.
1,000 people one where they have you laying on the floor and hook you up.
No, I
Oh,
want
okay,
to do
darn.
that. He has a new documentary called Source, and it was at UCSD, and it was amazing. And it
Oh,
just
I
made you
bet.
realize, like, oh, people are getting it. It's vibration and energy and meditation and healing. And it's these doctors on this panel that work for UCSD that are these old, you know, basically have had the blinders on. And then Joe took them off, and they're like, whoa, this
I,
is real.
I love that. You just gave me goosebumps, which somebody I was interviewing the other day said God bumps. I like
Oh,
that
yeah, I
God's
love
talking
that.
to you. I think that's cute.
Yes, so true. But yes, so vibration. I'm all about vibration. That's all I talk about.
That's all I
And
talk about.
yeah, but when you realize, like I've told the girls since they were little, like you start here instead of down here. If you're down here, it takes forever to get up here.
Right.
So when you have that understanding and when you live your life every moment it's a magical like existence that we're even doing this, like, and then you live there, there's just like you always believe, like there's synchronicities, the moments that come up that you're like, oh wow, that's because you've been living in the highest vibration.
Oh yeah. I wish I had the book here, but it has the word starseed in it. But it talks about that, and in my program, the present moment is the one place that Satan cannot go, right?
Hmm.
And in
Hmm.
this other book I'm reading, it's Satan cannot be there because Satan is the past and the future. Because the past drains us because we are angry about it, or we resent it, or we're sad about it. And the future drains us because we're fearful about it. We're always fearful about it. We always go to worst case scenario. So the present moment is the only place that you can have magic because nothing else is existing. It's just existing in our head, and we're making it up, and we can make it up any way we want to.
Right.
And yeah, um, I think, and then I think maybe I'm just in an echo chamber and I only talk to the people that know about the law of attraction. But I do think whether or not they're using those words, I think people are recognizing that there is a different feeling out there, a different energy, I think. Some people may think it's negative. I think it's very positive. I think chaos is going to get us to clarity and going to get us to these amazing things. So I do think if we can just get this message out and meet them where they are, right,
Hmm.
where they can understand this. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but my daughter has her PhD in psychology and she thinks I'm crazy.
Oh, funny. She does. She doesn't. You don't.
much. Pretty much. My 12-year-old grandson thinks I'm pretty cool. And I went to lunch with him, about a year ago, and I'm sitting with his little friends, and I'm talking, and he says, now my grandma wrote this book. And so I start, kind of telling him, and I was probably being patronizing at that moment, about vibration, and a little bit about quantum physics and how our consciousness can kind of control that. And I get a text from my daughter, and she said, one of the kids went home and said, well, quantum grandma said this. And so his mother says, who is this quantum grandma?
Oh,
Isn't
geez.
that a cute name? Quantum grandma. So they get it. That age gets it, right?
Oh,
Because they
for
haven't been
sure.
indoctrinated yet.
Right.
So I think it's wonderful what you do with your daughters. I'm your friend on Facebook, obviously, but and what you do with your program, because that's who you're reaching. You're reaching the younger generation.
Right. That know everything, but they've been had the parents that put the blinders on, or they've kept the hamster wheel going, and they haven't been able to figure out how to put the stick in it. And it's like when I finally get them to pull the stick out and or put the stick in and say,
Yeah,
hey, let's quit this like compete, these beliefs that are just
of
they don't
competition and
oh
having to
yes.
be the best. Well, you know what happens when you stick a stick in a wheel? Like you go flying.
Yeah, but flying higher into the highest
I know. There
vibration.
you go. There's your metaphor for your new for your
Yes.
new ad for
Yeah.
your book and everything.
But
I
these kids though that are coming into this vibration and are so much more aware than we were because our
oh
completely different vibration. It's so fascinating to me when I visit with them and have these Zoom, it's more Zoom, but there's when as soon as I peel like maybe one layer of the onion, their light comes through their eyes and they're like, okay, I get it. And almost where the parents will say, she really loves her every week. We get on the call. She's like, she looks forward. I go, she does? Oh, good. But I think it's because we're talking, she's like, gets to have that. I don't know if I see her, like I see her light or, whoever I'm talking to, but it's like that connection. And then all of a sudden it's just like, we're at the core of that onion and it's
well,
just so
and they don't have
beautiful.
that many layers to the onion because they haven't
No,
been that conditioned, right?
exactly.
Like, one of my metaphors is the golden Buddha. And do you know that metaphor?
No.
Let me tell it to you, may I?
Okay, please.
Okay. So there's a parable about a Chinese village, and they had a huge golden Buddha, and it was the pride of their town. And they hear that an invading army is coming, and they don't want the army to take the Buddha, and it's too big to move. So they decide to put mud and concrete and rocks and sticks on it. And so they cover it all up, and it just looks like a big tall mound of something. And sure enough, the army comes in, and they are there for years. And the people that put the mud on the golden Buddha, they died, and this knowledge has died out. Well, sooner or later, the invading army, they leave, and there's a young monk that's worshiping at the foot of this mound, and people don't really know why they're worshiping at the foot of the mound. And a piece of the mud falls off, and he looks up, and there's this gold shining through, and he calls the town villagers, and they come in and they pull it all off, and here's this golden Buddha. Well, we're a golden Buddha. We were born golden, right?
Right.
But our society, our parents, not because they don't love us, because they don't know any better, our teachers, they put all this mud on us. They think they're protecting us, right? But what they're just doing is stopping us from shining through. And bless your heart, you get them before they have too much mud on them.
Right.
I
Exactly.
get them where they're so muddied up. But at that point in time, when I get them, they're so exhausted of trying to push through and to make it work on the level they've been told it was supposed to work at.
Right.
And you get to work at it with them before they get
Yeah,
too much of that
I
on
when
them.
I work with parents, it's just like you, like trying to like, oh boy, this is like, it's not those onion layers are thick.
I know. Oh boy, let's start over again. Well, and that kind of brings me to one of the new lessons that I'm teaching in my program. And I've never really taught about masculine and feminine energy. Number one, I haven't really been that much of an expert on it. And number two, I always identified feminine energy with feminism,
Hmm.
which I am not a feminist. I'm an individualist, right? Do not give me something because I'm a woman, but also do not take it away from me because I'm a woman.
Right.
And I'm a mean, I'm
Watch
a
out.
mean one. So, and I was in law school way before a lot of women were, but my parents, nobody ever once told me I couldn't. I didn't know there was a glass ceiling. Nobody ever told me I couldn't do anything. And so when I graduated from law school, there had only been 25 other women that had ever graduated
Huh.
from this law school, and it was a 100-year-old law school. So I got kind of out in the late 70s, but it never even occurred to me. I just barreled through. But when I start looking at this, especially when I'm working with women in their 50s, they have had to live in the masculine energy, right? We have a very masculine energy in this society, which is left brain, logical. There has to be facts that support it. We're literally moving things, right? We're literally putting things together. It's very strong. It's very physical, and it's very factual based. And that's the world that we as women professionals have had to live in forever.
Right.
And if you're good at it, you learn to play their game. And if you don't, it's exhausting. But there's also a feminine side to us that honestly, if you've been a professional woman, nobody's ever acknowledged that. And the feminine energy is the right brain, creative, intuitive energy, using our creation, our creativity to create something. And it's the vibration, right? It's the energy, it's the love, it's the collaboration instead of the competition that your daughter's going to start getting into. And that is what is so powerful. And we who have been in the workforce have never been allowed to do that. And so part of my new program is to be able to literally embrace the two together, and realize that they work together, that none of them is more powerful than the other, but we also need to harmonize them and have them work together. So this is a great thing. It's Jake Woodard. I'm going to find that for you for sure before I leave. .com. And there's a test that you can take if you're more masculine or feminine dominated.
Hmm.
So just because you're a woman does not necessarily mean you're born with more feminine energy, right?
Right. For
It's
sure.
nothing to do with sexual identity or genders or anything. It has to do with this energy that we're born with. Well, I don't think we would be at all surprised to find out that I have more masculine
Right. I
energy.
was going to say, so do I. That's
Yeah.
how
Oh,
I've
yeah.
lived my whole life.
Yes. Yes. And we've played the game by their rules, but get out of my way because honestly, we had an edge. Don't you think we had an edge?
Well, that's what got us to where we were, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. We had an edge and we used it. And so if you take this test, it tells you
Huh.
where you have the most energy. And if you have more feminine energy and you've been in the workplace, you're exhausted because you have had to pretend to be what you're not. And if you've had more masculine energy and you've been in the workplace, you haven't even been allowed to really bring forth this feminine energy. And once again, it's not being weak or wussy, or it's an energy that the universe has. There has to be both energies in the universe.
Right.
It's co-creation and everything. So it really made me open my eyes to realize that our generation and yours, even though you're younger than I am, we did play in their field and we did play their rules and we did it really well. But it's time to take a big deep breath and let's figure out a new way to do it, right?
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping, especially women in the second chapter of their lives, that if they realize that they can access and honor that feminine energy, even if they've got more feminine energy, we have never been told to hone it. How many times have we been said, follow your intuition?
Right. Oh
No,
gosh,
it's follow the
Paula.
facts, follow the
Yeah.
data. Where do you get that? There's no science behind it. So I think if we embrace it, it's going to take us so much farther.
Oh,
Like
oh
last
gosh, you just flashed this big thing in my mind. So I grew up, I didn't get married till I was 36. And I was I had run my business, running my life, trying to figure out, bought a couple houses, did everything on my own. Had to,
Mhm.
and I was the one that, that's the masculine energy.
Right.
So meet Richard, I'm like, okay, he was probably the first man that the other ones I was attracting were the more feminine energies
Oh,
because of
uh-huh.
my masculine was attracting
Right,
this.
right, uh-huh.
So I was the one that, I felt like I always had to be the one in charge, and I just no. So finally I meet Richard, but learn a little bit of feminine, I'm starting to learn that. We had like,
Starting to give up a little bit of control.
yeah, right. Had a baby, had two babies, but go to Tony Robbins when I turned 50 with my sister. And have you ever done Date with Destiny?
No, huh?
Okay, so there's this one relationship day, and he teaches you about masculine and feminine energy.
Hmm.
And so you have to dance. And you kind of have to have a sexy dance. Oh my gosh, Paula, I was having the hardest time. I'm like, I can't do this. And I'm looking at my sister. I'm like, I can't dance. I can't do this. I can't exude. It's so hard. And that was my moment.
Exude what? Feminine energy? You
Feminine
can't even
energy.
say it?
Yeah, I couldn't even say it. And I was like, wow. So now, where I'm at now with my daughters, because that's so important.
Yes.
So Paige went to prom, like you saw the pictures, and she had a date, first time really, and learning kind of how, like, you know what, Paige, he's the man. You're because I mean, I'm strong, so she has a strong mom, but I want her to learn the feminine energy. He does that. Men do that. He pays for that. You let him open the door. So she's like, but it's like, as a mom in this generation of coming to, like, knowing that I struggled so much, I'm like, I want to have that. I want her to have that, like, oh,
It's
that's what it's
harmonizing.
supposed to
It's a
be like.
balance,
Yes.
right? It's a balance.
Yes.
And feminine energy does not necessarily mean weak or somebody else is in control because it is very, very powerful, but it's powerful in a different way.
Right.
It isn't physical. It isn't moving things, right? It isn't building a house. It is building this energy, right? It literally is spiritual. The feminine energy is spiritual. And when we learn to marry them together, marry is a great word, right? That's when we're whole and complete. Because I've always felt like if I let the femininity, no, see, it's feminine. If I let the feminine energy out, it would make me weaker,
Right.
right? And in fact, it makes you stronger.
Right.
And I think in every relationship, somebody is taking the masculine role and the feminine role. The next day, it may be the other way around. But think about the men. They are constantly having to pretend like they're macho.
Right.
They have feminine energy inside of them also that needs to be nurtured. And they do not need to feel embarrassed like they're the woman. It's the
Like it's weak.
creativity. Yeah,
Right. Like,
yes. And it's the
yeah.
intuition and it's the spirituality and it's the collaboration instead of competition. And I just think if we could get that conversation out there, especially for the young people, I think that's such a great thing. I do think they're not have the, and once again, this is not about gender identity, but the roles that they necessarily have always had to play,
Right.
right? And you are lucky that you were an older mom. You do not shoot me for that, but you know what I mean. You were
Yeah,
wiser when
totally.
you were,
Yeah.
yeah, when you were
I'm so glad that that was my path.
raising them, and such a good role model, right? Because you showed them that an independent woman could do this, but you also showed them I can be in a coexisting relationship where we both support each other,
Right.
right? And I think that's so important. But this test that you take, it says if you got more feminine energy, that's great. You can learn these masculine traits. We still need these tools to get by. And
Right.
if you have more masculine energy, you really need to take a break and fall into the feminine energy because it is ease. The feminine energy is ease and effortlessness and connection with source and connection with Christ consciousness. It's like floating down the river and the masculine is building the bridge, right?
Right. Right.
You can still get where you want to go. So that was kind of my epiphany when I was redoing this one to work with just, will not use the word middle age, but second chapter people
Yeah.
have taken, and especially my generation, my age.
Right. How do you do so, like, because I think when you're trying to help these women cross the bridge.
which sounds really bad.
When they're crossing the bridge, like, so if I had you in my life, you know, back in my day, and I had you teaching me how to make that more of a balance, because when you are leading your life, like I was leading my life, and I felt like if I don't lead it, who is?
Right, right.
You know?
And that doesn't mean, of course, being strong does not mean that's the masculine energy, right? The fact that you probably followed your intuition, and I remember your story on a lot of stuff that happened. Following our intuition is feminine, right? We
Right.
don't have to have all the facts out there. Something is telling us that we need to do a certain thing. So building your life using those feminine traits actually makes it a better foundation. So it's just knowing that the traits, I think it's important to know which one you have more of, because then you can work on the other, which I
Right.
thought was real interesting. But realizing that they work together and you're not complete until you embrace both of them. And
Right.
I really thought being the girl was weaker, especially as a divorce attorney, man. I was meaner than shit. You were not gonna make me back down.
Huh.
And that's the masculine energy. The feminine energy, which I used to some degree, was let's sit down and talk, and how can we make both sides work? And we can do this. And nurturing and mothering, but not in a weak sense. And I know that mothering is not in a weak sense, but and I think one thing that I work with women on is to start identifying how they identify themselves, right? So I have them put down where they are in their life and who they are in their life. And every single one of those is a label that somebody else has given to them, like
Right.
financially. It's a label. Is it, do you have a lot of money or not a lot of money? That's how you're supposed to view yourself, right? Physically, are you overweight? Are you skinny? It's an outside condition that people have given you and you have accepted. So where are you geographically? Are you in the house you want to be? Are you physically where you want to be? Are you spiritually, right? It may be we go to church and that's not floating our boat, but we don't know anything else. So where are you? What are the labels are? And then who are you? And we always identify with our labels. We're a mom, we're a businesswoman, we're a wife. We identify with the labels and where we are in our life. But all of those are just fake, right? Because we can change our name.
Right.
We moved into this body. We're going to move out of this body. Our bank account changes. Our employment changes. Our status in the family changes. When you realize none of that is really who you are,
Mm-hmm.
then we start really drilling down to who are you. And I have a coffee cup, I should put in here, and it says, I am dot, 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 right? I am the great I am, or be
Yes.
still and know that I am God. Well, that can
Right.
be taken two ways. Be still and know that I am God, God is God, or be still and know that I am an individuation of God, right?
Right.
Energy can neither be created or destroyed. Literally, I've always been here. I'm always going to be here. When they get that big picture, the labels can kind of fall away. The onion starts to peel. And then
Right.
we can start working on their belief systems and what they want to believe. And the masculine and the feminine. And the women that have taken this new program, because it's just a pilot program, they're all like kick-ass realtors or,
Okay.
they're big time people, and they're having a hard time saying that they need to embrace the feminine side,
Hmm.
right? Because we've learned to be successful using the masculine side. And I think
Right.
that we're going to find it just is such a breath of fresh air and a completeness. And it's okay to use these
Right.
other tools that we have.
Are they coming to you spiritually educated, or are you kind of putting a twist in it?
They're coming to me, it's you sell them what they want, you teach them what they need.
Right.
So they're coming to me because they know there's something else they want to do, right? And they have no idea what it is that they want to do, but they're unfulfilled. So they think it may be money or prestige or a new promotion or a new job, right? Or even retiring and doing something else. That's what they think they need, is something in their environment. But what they really need is understanding that they're this spiritual being that is having an awakening. I think we're all having an awakening. I think when we hit 50, it just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, tears down our door. But so they know that there's spirituality involved in it. So I can't say that they're, well, I'm in the Midwest, so almost all of us are Christian, but it's very spiritually based, and they know that's part of it. But that's really that's not really why they think they want it. They think they want to make more money or change professions, and then we get into that, and sometimes they do, but that's not what fulfills them. That's not what the fast path is, right? It's freedom, abundance, satisfaction, and time. That's what they really want.
Right.
If they'd allow themselves to know that.
What is awakening when you say we're all awakening?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think that, oh, I'm not anywhere as good as your other people like Lori Ladd. Oh my God, I love her. But, we are in a rotation around the middle of the Milky Way, just like the Earth goes around the sun, right? We all have our rotation that we do. Well, our solar system goes around the Milky Way, and it takes 26,000 years to go around the Milky Way.
Right.
Well, around 2000 and, well, probably around 2000, we exited a part of the galaxy that was enclosed with radiation. So there was all of this radiation that kept us from getting the cosmic energy from the middle of the Milky Way. Well, now we're in this part of the galaxy that we have not been in 26,000 years, and it's waking our sun up. It's getting 6,000 times more cosmic energy than we've had on this planet.
Huh.
The sun is waking up. We're having many more sun flares and all of these other things. That wakes our DNA up. Our DNA is waking up. We think we only have, what, 3 strands, and there's 12 strands. And it's amazing what our DNA is doing. And so I think that physically our bodies are absorbing this cosmic light. Light is just energy. It's starting to tell us things. I mean, don't you meet people and they know so much more, like you're going, oh my God, you get what I'm teaching? I mean, don't you do that more now? And
Yeah, for sure.
oh yeah, we were talking about this. I think it's more mainstream, but I also think it's waking us up. But also I think we look around the world and it's not working, right?
Right.
We can't believe what they're selling. We know we're not believing what they're selling, and they keep trying to sell it to us, and we're
Right.
not going to buy it. And so I think it's like a domino falls. Once you realize that you are this individuation of God, that you do have this power, that they have tried to put the mud on you and you not realize how powerful you as an individual. So, David Hawkins, Power versus
Yes,
Force.
I love
Yes.
that.
And I just taught letting go in another class, and how they're talking about the different, like you said, it's very hard to jump from, apathy or depression up to gratitude or love.
Right.
But I do like this part, that once you get to anger, anger is at least energy moving. When I was
Right.
a divorce attorney, I would have people come in, and when I say this, I mean this. They were like literally laying on the floor because they're so depressed and they had no energy, and their spouses left them and they didn't know what they were going to do. And like, I couldn't get them to do anything. And if I could get them to anger is a much better emotion than fear or depression. And
Right.
so when I could get them to anger, they're willing to do something, right? There's more energy going through them. They're on a higher level. That they now go, okay, I need to protect myself. And then the next level is pride, because if somebody's done something to me, I'm going to try to protect myself, and I'm going to be right, and I'm going to take these
Hmm.
next steps. Then the next level is courage. And courage is, maybe there is something else out there. Maybe I am brave enough to do something new. Maybe my life isn't over. So getting people to courage is at least allows them to open their eyes. But one of the things he says, one person in the vibration of love negates 750,000 people in fear.
Yeah, I know. I love that. That's like Abraham Hicks says that
I
too.
know,
Like,
I love that, right?
yeah.
That you can do millions. I mean, I know this is a conspiracy theory, but they do not want us to know that because we are so powerful.
Right.
And I think when we wake up to our own power by this knowledge, right, of who we truly are and how we can truly change things with our frequency, our vibration, what we put out to the universe is what we get back, what we tune into is what we get back. And do it with love. They can't fight love, right?
Mm-mm.
They can't fight it. And so us changing one person's lives, 10 people's lives, um, it's like the holographic universe, which they say that it is a holographic universe, that in a hologram, you only have to change one piece of the hologram and it changes the entire hologram, which I don't understand that. But us changing us changes the entire picture of the universe, which I love the poetry. I mean, maybe that's not 100% true, but it is in somebody's life,
Mm-hmm.
when you change yourself.
Yeah,
What do you think?
one little what we do within ourselves changes the whole thing. Like you look at, I want your take on um, time, past lives. What we're doing now is changing our past lives by doing what we're doing in
The
our
karma, the
energy.
generational
Right.
trauma or whatever.
What have you learned about
I
that?
don't know. I would like your take on it. I know that I've read Michael Newton's Journey of the Souls. Have you read that?
Okay, no.
Where he's a psychologist and he was hypnotizing people as therapy. He was a legitimate psychologist. He wasn't crazy, but now he is
Oh,
crazy because he wrote this book. But he hypnotized these people and they would go back to, the teenage years to find out why they had these fears or why they had this neck pain or whatever it was. And he would take them back farther and farther. And he was taking people back before they were born. And he thinks they're making this up, right? That they can remember
right,
before they're born and they can remember between lives. And then they can remember past lives. And he did like hundreds and hundreds. And they all had the same, literally the same memory of what happens between lives and what happens in past lives. And he's doing this therapy. And when they realized why they were having so much problems and they could deal with it now in the present moment that everything's okay, they got better.
right,
And his theory is so did everybody else in the past line. And so we're here to do that. Now, how do we prove that? That's the masculine. I don't
right.
know how we prove that. But I do think there's so much more going on than we know. I think we have cheerleaders around us so much more than we could possibly know,
Hmm.
which makes me happy. And in some ways, it's a little unsettling.
Oh my
So what do you
gosh.
think? What do you think of the past lives and healing
Well,
past traumas?
okay, so a week ago, I had my palm leaf read. Have you heard of
Oh,
that? So it's in India, 3,000 years ago. These Indians, this
you're
very
talking about
advanced,
palms? They
no,
had,
palm leaf, like a leaf,
oh, okay, okay, okay.
not your palm, not your hand.
Okay.
And they wrote everyone that every leaf has a life on it.
Oh,
Born, your date of birth, your mother's name, who you marry, your divorce, if you could miscarriage, um, disease, operations, and it's your whole life is on this all the way up to your death.
where do you get this palm?
Well, it's Indian palm leaf reading. I
Oh,
listened
okay.
to it on a podcast
Oh,
and
okay,
I
okay.
said, I have to do this because this is way too fascinating to me. But so why I'm, so
You and
what?
I are both batshit crazy. That's why I love you, Ashley. That's why I love you. Okay, go on.
So they take what I picture is you send your thumbprint in, that's it. And this little Indian person, I'm picturing him on a bike, goes into these caves and looks for your palm leaf. And I did that in October. So
Like you mean like mentally, like in a trance or
no, they actually have to go physically find the palm leaves.
oh,
They're
okay.
in these bunches. They're like in these, I think they call them palm leaf bunches but there's like,
That
you
would be a
can
good
see
thing to
them like
call them.
in stacks.
Okay, okay.
So in April, well, let's see, I just had my reading on this 22nd. So in the end of March, they found my leaf. So I get an email and says, sign up for the Zoom and meet us at 3:45 in the morning, and we will see if we can find your leaf in
Now,
these
did you
two.
say you'd send it to them in October?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So it took that long.
Yes, and there's still one in my friends group, one of the group that did it. They still haven't found her. So not everyone has a leaf, which is
Oh,
interesting. So I've watched videos over and over of these people trying to find their leaf, and some of them take 2 hours where they have the man, the Indian, doesn't speak English with the translator reading these leaves. So he'll say, were you born between 1962 and da da da? And you'll say yes or no. The minute you say no, on to the next leaf. Is your dad first? Does he have a G in his name? Yes. And then he continues on. Do you have two girls? Yes. So it has to be yeses. Are you
okay.
married? You can, have you been divorced? Um, so we spent, they found my leaf in the first bunch, and it was like, is your name Ashley? Is your mom's name Darlene? Is your dad's name? I mean, it was like,
Oh,
did
wow.
your daughter have abdominal surgery when she was young? And I'm like, what? Like, how do you know that? That's on the leaf? Did you have a miscarriage between the two? I'm like, yes. um my life coach, children, you're going to open a spiritual center, you have investors, when your
Oh,
children are going to have babies, what they're going to have,
oh,
health things. So then they send you, they go all the way up to like 80 something. You can probably, they didn't go to my death, but what they do is um, give you these punchas. So they're going to send me these punchas, which are these prayers that heal each of these blocks that you
oh,
have in each area of your life. So my point of even explaining that to you is when I asked the woman, because there's a moderator, and I said, explain to me that, like, all those leaves are souls living life. Is it me in a parallel life? The ones that I said no to? Because if Richard and I got divorced and I went back and did another reading in a year, that wouldn't be my leaf.
right. Uh-huh.
So she said, and that her explanation is, she's like, everything is happening now. That was all she said. That's how you can explain the leaf, is everything is happening now. I said, okay, I guess.
I
But
know that's a hard concept. That is.
right. But after that experience last week, my week, it's like, just follow your joy because it's already on a leaf.
Well, that
Just,
topic's on a good leaf.
but it's
I
just like, it really was mind blowing to
so did it
hear.
talk about past lives?
No, it talked about this life.
Just this life. Just
Hmm.
this life. So it's really like prophetic, like it's telling you what's going to happen in the future. Did it tell you
Hmm.
that? Or did you
Oh
not? It
yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It went from like 10 years, like 3 to 10 year segments they would go to, like, between 56 and 62 you'll be doing this, and between that you'll be enjoying grandchildren, this your daughter will have. And like, I told Paige, wow, when you're almost 30 you're going to have a baby or get married.
So let me ask you this. Are we just speaking it into existence because they're telling us what the future is going to be? So we're just speaking into existence and
Right.
manifesting it, or is it already there? I don't know. There's another question, you
I
know?
mean, it's above my head. It's
Well,
just
I got to tell you, I totally believe. I mean, in the 0 point field, in the energy field, in the Christ consciousness, I believe in psychics. They're seeing stuff we're not seeing. They're reading stuff we're not seeing. I've been to a psychic a couple, 3 times, and they knew stuff. There was no way they could have known it. There were new stuff I didn't know that happened in the future. So when they're legitimate, they are connected to something. We just cannot think that there's this five senses and we only see what's in our immediate
right.
area. Like our five senses only access 0.05% of the vibration that scientists can now measure with their equipment. Think of what scientists cannot measure with their equipment, right? But we're
Right.
still just seeing 1/2 of 1% and feeling and hearing. So you know there's some magic out there. I just
Mm-hmm.
love it. And the more science knows, the more science claims it as science. But it is magic. It's God. It's source energy, and if we're all connected. And um,
Do you feel
I just
like you what?
no, I just love being with you because I have such good energy.
But do you see, like, when, your grandkids are, having families and you're going to be a great grandma, do you feel like when that time comes, our life, like will the, right now I'm really into Bashar, listening to these
Oh God, I love him. Yeah.
like obsessed. I just bought a ticket to his show. Um, but
He's very optimistic
mhm.
he's very optimistic about the future.
But the ETs, I mean, I was listening to one where it was like 2005, and he was saying in your years of 2015 to 2033, that'll be ET contact, So when you're back in the 2005, that seems like forever. And now we're
I
there,
know.
right?
Oh, I totally believe in ETs, and I know
Yeah.
they're here, and I know they're doing stuff. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. So my grandson, who's 12, his newest thing is, Grandma, come do this with me because I'm not going to have you forever.
Oh, wow. That's
Oh, he's
lovely.
playing up, but they're going, oh my God, I'm going to have him forever,
Right.
hopefully. And it is a different way of looking at things. But honest to God, Ashley, I think we're all going to be ascending to 5 density here pretty soon anyway.
Right.
So does Carrie Kay and so does Lori Ladd. So,
Right.
I mean, I do. I think this is the perfect time to be here it's a vibration,
Right.
right? It's a vibration. And when we get into higher vibration, we see different things. I swear, this is so weird. I swear I see things out of the corner of my eye
Oh, I do that too.
that aren't here. My husband said, maybe you have a brain tumor. But I am not going there. No, no, no. But the higher frequency, the more you see things, and they know that, right? I
Right.
mean, dogs hear different dogs. So I think we're all going to this higher frequency. I am not afraid of death at all. I don't want to leave my family, but I mean, I think of the adventure.
Right.
I think of the adventure. I'm not ready yet, God. So,
Right.
and I'm ascending in 5D,
Yep.
but yeah, I would love to. So I have a 2-year-old granddaughter. We talk about
Oh,
looking in God's eyes. Oh my,
fun.
when they're that little, they're still connected to heaven. And
Mm-hmm.
she says stuff that's just, I just love her. But I say, I'll be happy if I can see her graduate. And then I go, no, I'm going to see her get married. And then, whatever happens, it's going to be fine. Whatever
Yes,
happens.
it's
This is
perfect.
such a,
It's already on your leaf.
it is on my leaf. And I'm going to go find that leaf and rewrite my leaf. But, you know, this is a blip. If we think 80 years is everything, it's a blip in eternity, right? This is
Yeah,
just a hiccup.
right.
And I'm excited, but not
Me
right away,
too.
God, but I'm
Yeah.
excited.
But when you say you're not afraid of death, I'm not either. And I think that even saying that has shifted in my awareness within the last 6 months in a different way. Like I've really, I don't know if it's who I've been reading or listening to, but where we are, like I don't watch the news. I have no clue what's going on in the world, so don't ask me anything about that.
Which
But,
is so much smarter.
so when you think of where we, like, I feel like we were like, we were like these people that we got to come here during this
I
time,
know.
right? Like what a, like, feel like our soul. Oh, and by the way, the leaf guy told me this was my last life. He said, congratulations, this is your last life.
Well,
Um,
I
but
hope that means you go to somewhere great.
right. But when you realize we're just this fractal of our soul in this body and we're
I
everywhere
know.
else all at once, like this is just where we focus right now. This is where we put our focus, right?
Yes. And I love the idea that we're volunteers, right? Because they say we're volunteers to come down here to help
Right.
the earth ascend. And I can just see me sitting in the front row being obnoxious, going, take me. And God's going, okay, take her just because
Yeah,
she's
get her
driving me
out of
crazy.
here.
Yeah, I know. Get her out of here. She thinks she's going to do good. I do. I think we're all here for a reason. I think you and I found each other for a reason. I think you're finding all your amazing guests. I had my podcast for 4 years and I do miss the people I connected with because they were all perfect at the time that I needed. And you
Right.
getting your voice out is so important, and you getting your podcast out and connecting with these people. And I do think we're all here, we're a piece of the puzzle. And when we step forward, we step into our higher self, this puzzle gets made and we all can ascend and we're
Right.
in
Live
5D.
happily ever after
We're
and in a different density. Yeah.
in a different density.
Yeah.
Carrie Kay says that women become like 29 again and men become like
Yeah.
32 again. So
I
I
know.
am waiting, man.
Oh, I know. I love that part. I was like, really? Oh,
I
that's
know.
amazing.
Oh, I just
29,
no.
I could be 29. We can all, yeah, but
I mean, really, should I spend that money on the necklace or should I just know that
right?
I'm going to be 29 again? No,
No,
I'm excited. I think there's a lot of fun things and I love teaching this stuff and I love working with people. And
I do too. I love talking to you and you raise my vibration, Paula.
oh, you raised mine so much.
How can we find you? Any last words of wisdom from
Sure.
Paula?
Well, that we are all here for a purpose, that you have to trust your passion and step into it and embrace both the positive and the negative aspects of your life, which is amazing that the feminine is negative because it's nighttime, it's the womb, it's slower energy, and the masculine is the positive because it's always spinning. But embrace both of those and know that you're here for a reason and have the courage, right? Get up to courage to know that there's so many other things you can do. And if we just take that one step, the universe conspires in our favor. And there's so much out there for us to do that, staying on our couch in our PJs watching Netflix is not necessarily bad at certain times,
Right?
but there's so much more out there to do. We're on a hero's journey. We're the hero of our own soul. We're the star of our own movie. And I would love to help anybody that would love to get to that point. So my website is lawyerofattraction.com. And I have a book on Amazon called The Lawyer and the Law of Attraction. And it's under my name, which is Paula. Middle name is Kidd, Kidd, and last name is Casey, Casey. And you can get a hold of me at Paula at lawyerofattraction.com. And I would love to have a conversation with anyone and see what we could do. So
Oh, thank you. That was so fun. Love, 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 loved it.
thank you, Ashley, for allowing me to be here. I love our connection.
Me too.